Good evening. We welcome you here to our City Council meeting. We are starting just a couple of minutes late, 2 minutes late. We were finishing up an executive session. And so we welcome you all here tonight. We note that we have a full quorum present. All council members are in attendance. We will begin with our opening ceremony. Tonight, Councilman Steve Vincent is prepared to direct us or present to us whatever he's going to do for our opening ceremony.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no video today, so let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We note that we have a scout troop with us tonight. We welcome you and we invite you to have one of your scouts come forward, and there are 3 things we would like you to tell us: your troop number, what schools you attend, and why you're here. You must be working on maybe a merit badge or something. Just come right up to the microphone there.
So we are Troop 4. We have been Troop 4 for 50 years. All of us attend Hunter Junior and Hunter Junior High and Hunter High School. And we were working on citizenship in the community merit badge.
Thank you very much. Welcome. You picked the night. I don't think we will go very long tonight. We have a fairly light agenda, so you have some wise scout leaders.
Looks pretty good for being in the troop for 50 years.
Yeah. All right. Next, I believe that was, you were all together, right? Okay. Then next we'll go to our minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve from October 7th and October 14th. So to the council. Councilwoman Lang.
Mayor, I move for approval of the minutes from October 7th and October 14th of 2014.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilman Bueller has the second. We have that motion properly before us. Any discussion? Okay, with that then, we'll place it for a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes from October 7th and October 14th this year for our regular meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. The minutes are approved. We will now turn some time to Mr. Vincent. We have a proclamation that declares November 1st as Extra Mile Day in West Valley City.
Thank you, Mayor. A proclamation declaring November 1st, 2014 as Extra Mile Day in West Valley City. Whereas West Valley City is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists with the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas West Valley City is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas West Valley City is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas West Valley City acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 500 extra mile cities and states in America, and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2014. Now therefore, we, the Mayor and the City Council of West Valley City, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2014 to be Extra Mile Day. We urge each individual in the community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile, in his or her own life, but to acknowledge all those around who are inspirational in their efforts and in commitment to make their organizations, family, community, country, or world a better place.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that, and that will be so noted, that proclamation. We next go to our public comment period, but no one has signed up. And we have one of our regulars here, but then the scout troop, and that's all that came tonight other than the council and staff. So, seeing no public comment, we'll turn to the city manager. Any comments for the council?
No, sir, I'm good.
Thank you. Then to the council, any comments? Seeing none, we will then finish with that and go on now to our resolutions, item number 8 on our agenda. These are items that are now receiving their second hearing to the council. We have heard these items before. This will be the second and probably final discussion on them for review and then for actual action by the council. So we have resolution 14-180. This is to authorize the city to acquire by negotiation or condemnation real property from that is located at 3027, 3035 West Leon Avenue. The city has been attempting to purchase that property and have been unable to make contact with the owner. Although numerous attempts at letters, phone calls, personal contact have been unfruitful. So the city will now, this will give them the option of being able to move forward to actually file a motion for default and a motion for immediate occupancy. In this case, though, understand that because the individual has not come forward, the city is required to put the fair market value of that property into escrow and maintain those funds. They're held, they earn interest, they are no longer city funds, those funds will belong to the individual. This is a part of the area just to the west of us here in our Fairborn Station area, where we are doing some redevelopment. The property has been, I wouldn't say abandoned, but it has not been in use. The house has not been used, or I guess it's a duplex. Duplex, or is it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And has not been occupied for an extended period of time, and is currently, has been, just from all appearances, has been probably robbed of anything valuable inside. I assume that the owner has not done that, but things have been ripped out, and so it's essential. It is not habitable. It would be condemned if there were people living there, and they would have to move out. So that's kind of where we are with that. With that introduction, then, to the council for any comments or action.
Mayor?
Councilman Rushton.
Thank you. Just a question of our city manager. What is the proposed public use for the property once the city acquires it?
Sir, the current plan is that we would be building a road through that property that would join up with 35th South.
Thank you for that. With that, Mayor, I would move that we approve Resolution 14-180.
Thank you. The motion is before us. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilman Nordfeld has a second. That motion is now properly before us. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will place the motion for a vote. Those in favor of approving Resolution 14-180 to authorize the city to acquire by negotiation or condemnation property located at 3027 and 3035 West Leon Avenue, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. the motion is approved. We will now go to Resolution 14-181. This is an authorization for the West Valley City Police Department to accept an award, a federal award through the U.S. Department of Justice for a program called COPS Hiring Program. And this particular program award is for $1,250,000. We do have to match that with cash of $626,922 over 3 years. These funds will be used to hire 10 additional police officers, creating a new fast action unit, and targeting emerging crime problems or areas where there is significant concern, and also a community response unit assigned to specific geographical areas where they'll have regular contact with citizens in the neighborhood and gathering information as to what is happening in the city. This will require a budget opening. And so that is what the item is. To the council for any comments or discussion. Councilman Bueller.
Thank you, Mayor. Inasmuch as the federal government taxes us heavily, I'm happy for any opportunity we can bring that money back to the city and provide, in this case, better and more police service for the residents of the city. And with that comment, I would move for approval of Resolution 14-181.
We have a motion before us. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second is by Councilman Hill. Further discussion? Councilman Vincent.
Mayor, as we move forward with this program in year 4, we will want to probably retain these 10 officers once this grant is fulfilled. So just note that we need to start making plans to cover those funds when the grant expires.
Thank you. That brings up a appropriate point to talk about the funding now. Currently, this is not in our budget, and as I understand it, we have not identified where this money is coming from.
That's correct, sir.
And my understanding is we have budgeted all our projected revenues.
That's also correct, sir, yes.
So the only funds that might be available, at least that I'm aware of, maybe there's some cost savings somewhere in a department or things can be worked out other than that, would be in the fund balance.
That would be the fund balance of both the general fund unallocated as well as within the departments themselves. We could allocate funding across that by a budget amendment process, as you mentioned. I think it's also worth pointing out, sir, that this is a 3-year responsibility from our matching side, which will also be escalating. So, for example, in the first year, I think our responsibility is something like $125,000 or thereabouts, and then increasing across those 3 years. So, we have done this project through the COPS grant or a similar process probably 5 or 6 times during my tenure as a city manager, and we've had plenty of time in the past to be able to find those matching sources from whatever source. They were taken from either from fund balances that were reallocated across the budget or new revenue sources that were identified in the following years.
Okay, so what you're telling me is this will commit us those future revenues ahead of all other things that we have because we're actually committing them now. This is a very worthy project, and it's difficult because it goes against everything that I've done for the last 20 years, which is to agree to spend money that we actually don't have, but that we project we probably will have or will realign budgets at some point in the future. Now the 125, I guess I would say yes, as long as we have identified a source for those funds, which right now would be tentatively the fund balance, unless you can. Now, I believe the chief said that they would be able to use some funds from the asset forfeiture account.
Asset forfeiture funds would be used for procuring equipment for these officers, or not for the matching funds.
Okay. So it would not be part of the 125,000 you mentioned?
That's correct.
That number was. So for me, this is a very difficult vote. Now, it may not be for you, but just, I've never done that before, and I struggle to do it now, but I hate to say no to additional officers. And so I'm trying to figure out what statement you can make as city manager to assure that we will have funds. And I think the only one that I've come up with is that you would verbally commit that we will set aside in our fund balance, not by journal entry or any official action, but by public commitment, that you would set aside those funds and not release them for any other project until we have replaced them with other funds.
Yes.
Okay. And our fund balance is more than sufficient to accommodate that.
Yes, that's absolutely true, sir. In fact, if I might possibly give you some commentary that might ease your concern or clarity on the situation. You basically have two situations under this kind of a program: to apply for the program and accept it, or to not apply for the program and participate at all. There's no circumstance within this structure that you would be able to pre-designate funding or budgeting for participating in the program, because you don't know if you're going to get officers under the grant application program. So therefore, you sort of take your chances through that process. Once the grant award comes back, it's still a very tentative decision, and that's why the elected officials have brought that decision to be made. It's very completely acceptable, and that's why the process is set up the way it is for the council to reject the grant application. The effort that we're trying to accomplish here is a long-term one in building the police department. We know that we have needs within the police department for staffing in an ever-growing city, and we also know that we're always and ever increasingly behind the curve, so to speak, in staffing that. This is a method by which you can add to that police force and at the same time not have to bear the full brunt of that financial commitment at one time. Does that make it the best way to do that from a budgeting or accounting standpoint? Possibly not. That's why the decision is before you as an elected body. Your decision is based on whether that priority is high enough on the agenda, or that urgency and need is high enough on the agenda, and to approve it. I would put to you as the city manager that there's no short-term urgency for doing this. This is a long-term build to the city's resources as proposed.
And I will add to that, based upon the background that I have, that the federal government typically has the hope that by granting these funds and getting the program started, and then in the fourth year when they say that we have to cover it for at least that year, their hope is that we will continue it indefinitely into the future. It is a way of trying to basically force, in our case, a city to spend money on police officers.
Absolutely not, sir. I mean, there's no force about it. They invite us to apply, and then we make application, and then they certainly do encourage and want us to do, and that's certainly our intent. We wouldn't be applying for this money at all if we did not intend to keep those officers in place at the end of the grant period.
By using the word force, I use it in the political sense, and it is absolutely true. It is fully their expectation, and history bears them out, that in a very high percentage of the cases, grants that are given, that they then stop funding, are continued to be funded in the long term. I don't know about our particular history as a city, but I do know that that is their hope and expectation, and it is borne out in many cases. So that pretty well concludes my remarks. As far as I'm concerned, we are voting here to commit budget ongoing, not for 4 years, but ultimately 1.2 million plus in the future. And that, and I'm okay with that as long as it's very done with our eyes wide open. But we are also committing funds that we don't have, which is not a good budgeting practice. In the future, I would hope, and I offer a solution, because I can complain, but I also have a solution, and that is, next year I would hope in our budget that we would set aside funds for unanticipated grant applications or events where we may have to open the budget again and not spend all available funds, but rather leave some for these types of events, which would of course still come back to the council, but that we have those funds available and not have to do what we're doing now to try and get that budget, those funds allocated. So that is my solution. It's also a long-term solution that would be implemented over time in future budgets so that we don't have to do, because we can easily do that. And there will be others. This will not be unique. There will be other things that will come up that we will need to budget for. In fact, I think that this is not, there's nothing really unusual about this. And so we should plan for those and set aside some funds. With that, then, that concludes my comments. The council, Councilman Yu.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it, Mayor. Every year we have a strategic planning meeting at the beginning of the year, like February or January, and we discuss our goal and our plan for our city. And I think this resolution right here, 14-181, is to have 3 years period, so we can use those meeting strategic planning meeting, and we can discuss about this, and we can have an opening budget, or we can say somebody put reserve, and then we can have time to work on it. I think for 3 years. So at that time, maybe we can, as Mr. Pyre will bring it up, anything he can share with us about his goal and his plan for this particular 10 officers in fast action unit. And I think we still have time to work and to discuss about this. Yeah.
Thank you. Were there any other comments? Councilman Rushton.
Yeah, thank you. I guess rise to speak in favor of this resolution and give you a few points of how fortuitous we are to be able to receive this grant. First thing, I received an email the other day from a resident who was asking about our disbanded neighborhood narcotics unit, and saying that basically her thought was that since we didn't have a dedicated narcotics unit, that we weren't doing any narcotics investigations in the city anymore. To where I informed her that we are doing this type of work, and we continue to try to provide all range of police services in the city. It's just how we allocate, how we set up, and how we dedicate police officers to this. I would anticipate that this new group would probably be in some ways a response to filling some of the needs that some of our residents have, or feel that they're not being served to a level that they would like them to be served to. I don't have many of the same reservations that have been expressed here, because I definitely would see that within 3 or 4 years that we're going to need 10 officers. If not, we're going to be talking about ways to have even another 10 officers on our force. And for $100,000 out of a $70 million budget, I think is a rather small amount for probably our major responsibility to provide police and fire, public safety to our residents. And I also wouldn't throw it out of the question that I could name a dozen hypothetical situations to where this group might be back in a way of trying to provide some type of public safety service that's not being provided, or situations where our residents are calling on 5 more officers, 10 more officers to respond to any number of things that could potentially happen in the next 6 months or year or 3 years, and so see us also being fairly proactive. I'm also very pleased that we've received this grant, because my understanding of this grant and the intention of it is to also delay departments such as ours from laying off officers. And the fact that we were awarded this grant when we have no plans of laying anyone off, rather that we are expanding one, I think we're probably pretty lucky to get this, because, as I mentioned, I think that a lot of the program is to delay reductions in staff, not help to expand staffs. And so, with the 4 years and with the plans that are with it, I think again we're very lucky to have this, and I would. And I think it goes back to whether it's forcing or not forcing. I think that the idea wasn't really either of them, but it's to try to prevent cities from downsizing it. And so to where we're not that, I think we're very lucky to have received this, and lucky that we have 3 years, as Councilmember Hune said, to absorb and to move forward with this and basically help us with our expanding police department and our expanding city.
Thank you. Actually, I'm tempted actually almost to get a printed copy of your remarks so we can share them with Mr. Pyle again when he starts his budget preparation, to highlight our support of additional police officers. Because I agree with that. One of the priorities certainly I personally have would be to increase the number of officers. But I guess my comments, because of the process, I would say, gee, why didn't we do this, ourselves? Of course, there are budget issues, and so we'll work through those. But thank you, Councilman Rushton. I agree with what you say. And it is not for a desire not to have the officers. But I will have some interesting discussions with Mr. Pyle and the staff, I'm sure, over the next 6 months or the next couple of years on funding and how that works, and trying to see if we can anticipate some of these a little better. Any further comments? The motion is properly before us. I don't think we need to do a roll call vote. I think this one will be pretty clear. So all of those in favor of approving Resolution 14-181, authorizing the West Valley City Police Department to accept the U.S. Department of Justice award of the COPS hiring program, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. The motion is approved. We now move on to Resolution 14-182, to ratify the city manager's appointment of a member to the Utah Cultural, or 2 members, to the Utah Cultural Celebration Center Foundation Committee, Rita Martin and V. Kim Martinez. Those are from October 1st through September 30th, from October 1st of this year through September 30th of 2016 for 2-year appointments. Any further information on that? I think that's pretty straightforward. Then to the council for comment or action.
Mayor,
Councilman Vincent.
move for approval of Resolution 14-182.
Councilman Vincent makes the motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Lang has the second. The motion is properly before us. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll place it for a vote. All in favor of approving Resolution 14-182, ratifying the city manager's appointment of members to the Utah Cultural Celebration Center Foundation Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. That concludes our agenda for the evening. Any final comments, Mr. Pyle?
No, sir.
Council, any final comments? Seeing none, one last motion. Councilman Hune.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.